Hello, everybody. FAI here, or I here, and welcome back to another accureye talk sale. And I know it's been a long time since we've done an accureye talk sale on Overwatch, but it's been a bit of time, and it's been a while since I've decided to, of course, do a talk video on Overwatch because I haven't really had reason to do Overwatch in a while. Main reason is because I just really haven't found a reason to play it. And I recently did some coaching back with a pro, to kind of help me get a little bit of a better idea of where I stand on competitive and how to get better at competitive, as well as just in general maybe learn a little bit more that I haven't really known or learned in the time. And one thing I've learned is that honestly, should you specialize in just being one role or just a few characters? I don't think there's any problem with specializing in different roles, but I think in the case of competitive or just being competitive in general, I would say that you might want to kind of consider or look into just specializing in something because obviously when it comes down to the competitive modes and competitive in general, I think that by specializing yourself into one particular character, especially if it's just one particular role, it makes it a lot easier for you as a player to basically, control the battlefield. Because when you know your specialization or your role in general, you can have a good idea of how to effectively make yourself a overall better player. And I think that's one thing that most players don't, do very often, especially when it comes down to lower tiers. Now, I'm not saying I'm a high tier or anything right now, but, I find that many of us, especially in the lower tiers, are still learning. And a lot of us in the lower tiers are still learning to play the game. So, we try pretty much every single role, every single character, every single, person in the game to try and figure out which way is best. But I think, as it's been said by many videos that I've watched and many pros who have probably, been learning far faster than us, one of the main things is we gotta learn to commit ourselves to, someone or some role, some character, and something that'll just give us the edge that we need, especially going forward into the future of if we are trying to get high rank. Now, for some of us, maybe high rank is just getting into gold. Maybe high rank for some of us is just trying to get into diamond. Not everyone is going to be trying to go into pro, but I think in general, a lot of players should consider specializing whatever they can and specializing in a particular role that they can, because learning your role is probably by far one of the most important things you can do as a player. Now, in this case, I'm playing a tank because which is not the role that I want to specialize in. I was specialized in being a DPS, but I'm playing a tank here to try and show you the observations that I found just by playing my certain role, playing one role in general, and just in general playing that particular role and being the best at that role. Now, sometimes, you'll get a chance to flash your way through, something. But in general, I think, the obvious point of the view is to, specialize in knowing your role and being there for your role, unless there's a time where your team does not need you in that role. Now, if you're a DPS, for instance, or damage per second player, then, obviously, for instance, in the damage per second player motives, you're going to have roles or you're going to be pretty much wherever you can create the most damage. Now, this means that you're flexible in many cases, and you're open to aggression or non-aggression. You're open to being a defensive player or an aggressive player. But in many ways, when you're looking into someone like Tank here, like me playing Sigma here, one of the main things is defending the line. Defending your team and making sure that your team is safe. Your team is going to stay alive as long as possible. Now, we'll talk about more about roles and how to play your role substantially well compared to every other player in the future. But for now, we're not going to talk about that. We're just going to talk about the specialization. As you can see here, in this case, even though we have our aggressive players like Doomfist and I believe that was Tracer trying to get into our backline here, as a tank, I'm basically taking the line of defense. I'm trying to protect my team and make sure that my team has protection almost always, if not, whenever they can. I want to make sure that, in general, my team feels safe, no matter where they are standing. Whether they are playing DPS, whether they're playing backline, whether they're playing defensive, whether they're playing frontline. In general, you want to make sure that, overall your team has the best protection they can. And that's pretty much what the DPS does. That's pretty much what the tank does. The tank is the player who pretty much is going to give or take, defend the line, protect the team, and ensure that nothing gets behind, in front of them. Now, this also means that you're also the first responder to the objective. For instance, you'll see here how I'm basically trying to get in front of the objective to try and stop the objective from moving. Because, again, we don't want to make them have an easy objective. We don't want them to have an easy time getting into the next area. And that's one mistake that a lot of players will make going into low tiers, is that they don't give, enough time to stay on the objective and protect the objective. Because, again, like I've said before, you don't want to make it easy for an enemy team to basically have, the objective so quickly and to win the game so quickly. This is something that every competitive player looks at, is that when they have their set teams, their set compositions, and their set comms, they obviously are set up to being that person that is going to be, making sure that the objective doesn't move and that things don't move at all, You want to make sure that everything kind of is in place, if you will. And, by having everything in place, by having your whole team see you, if you're playing a tank role, you protecting the objective, you watching the front line, you basically, taking the bump of the damage. It encourages everyone to kind of stay together, if you will. Now, obviously, to some degree, this doesn't always work, and sometimes, like you'll see here, I'm basically just getting pushed into that, because people don't want me to be right there on the objective. People don't want me to be right there, just, ball hogging, if you will, or, road blocking their way forward. And, I mean, it happens sometimes. But again, that's pretty much the objective. Now, I'll talk about the tank role and how it plays the tank later on. But let's get back to, specialization and why you should specialize. I think by specializing, you learn more about your role. And you learn also more about the character that you are. Too many players often switch because they see, for instance, Sigma, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, we got a Sigma, we've got a counter. But again, by trying to learn so many different roles, and by trying to play so many different parts, if you will, with so many different characters, you're really snail pacing your learning curve, and you're really snail pacing who you are trying to learn. So that's why, when it comes down to it, you see me just playing Sigma all the time if I'm playing like a tank, because, again, I know Sigma. I know how he reacts. I got an idea of how to play him. And because I know how to play him, I'm going to just kind of, at least through the lower tiers, and at least through the lower runs, I'm going to just specialize in that character. because again, I don't want to, divert my attention to a counter that that may just inhibit my ability to be good at a game and just inhibit what I'm doing. That's not something you want at the end of the day. You want to make sure that what you're doing is going to help and improve you in the long run. You don't want something that's not going to improve you in the long run, because if something doesn't improve you in the long run, then, how are you ever going to get to that higher rank? How are you ever going to get to the next level? Many players, especially from what I've seen on the pros, many of them are going to specialize in only a few heroes. Now, those few heroes could be as low as 2. They could be as low as maybe 3. I'm not entirely sure. But I do know that most pro level players have a certain specialization, a certain range of heroes that they are going to be, and they're always going to be those heroes. They're never going to change, because they don't need to change. They know those heroes so well, they can basically wipe the floor with any of those heroes, given that the circumstances are there, and they have the right game sense. They know exactly what they want to do, and they know exactly how to play the game. Now, you look at someone like the real Kenzo, who is a top 500 pro player. He's a Widowmaker, and he's done a few tutorials on Widowmakers that I just recently watched. And it's like, players like that, are players that are going to give you a good idea of why you should, learn to specialize in these roles, and learn to specialize in what you're doing and be good at it, for say. I mean, you don't have to be perfect at your role. No pro is perfect. No one is perfect when it comes to a player. But, you've got to learn how to play with a certain sense of mind that, this is a team where I'm going to, even if everyone else is just like lower tier, and I can basically, if I use my full ability, I'm going to pub stomp all these people. Well, it doesn't matter. You should learn to give these people, if you are confident that you can destroy or at least eliminate practically everyone on this team and demoralize everyone on this team, then you shouldn't be afraid to demoralize them. You shouldn't be afraid or hold back, in a sense, to saying, like, oh, well, I'm this kind of ego-based player. I mean, I get it. We all have egos to some degree. And some of us, of course, more than others, think that we should be higher level than we should be. I get that. Even I'm sometimes like that. Even I'm personally sometimes like where I should be higher level than I should be. And mostly I get that, But the thing is that sometimes we just gotta go through the hurdles of saying, like, even though we are this rank right now and we should maybe be higher than we should be, we also are at this rank because at the moment we're not, ready for maybe whatever the next level is. Now, sometimes if you have the right team together, you got the right composition, everyone kind of knows exactly what they're doing, everyone can pretty much pop off to, working for the same objective and the same motives, then, the game plan may become a little different. But overall, you don't want to change the game plan that much to the point where, especially in pub games, you don't want to change the game plan that much to where everyone has to, you are in the 1v10 situation. Or in some cases, like, I think in this game, it's 6 versus 6. You're in the 1v12 situation, and everyone is kind of their own solo hero. Work around your ego. Even if you think, oh, I can be a better DPS than this person. Well, it's true that you can be a better DPS than someone. Then why don't you prove it by queuing in as a DPS, not as a tank? And you're going to probably tell me, oh, but it's too long to wait for me to become a DPS because it's like 6 minutes, 10 minutes. I don't want to wait that long. I'd rather queue into tank or support so I can have only a 2-minute, 3-minute wait and then show everyone how powerful of a DPS I am. Well, I mean, no, you shouldn't do that. I get it, people don't like waiting. But sometimes the wait game, if you're really proving and you really want to prove that you are this amazing DPS, then queue up for the DPS role. I know it's going to take a long time because of SBMM or skill-based matchmaking, which is another talk for another video. But it's like, if you are truly that special and you're truly that good at being a DPS, then queue up for being a DPS and prove that you are the best DPS out there. I mean, look at what we did with this me as Sigma. I'm not a tank main, but I played my role. And I played it to the best of my knowledge. I played it to the best of my absolute, intuition. And because of that, we won the game. Because of that, because I was mainly protecting the objective, protecting the front line, and protecting the, protecting the cover, everyone pretty much wins. And that's because I was carrying the team as a tank, basically. You could say I was basically carrying the team as a tank. I mean, yes, look at what I did. I got bronze on objective kills, but that doesn't really matter. Again, it doesn't really matter that I did that. I'm not looking for being, the main DPS, the hero of the game when it comes down to, and that's one thing that gets overlooked. But again, we'll talk about that in a future video. But, you kind of hopefully get my idea about specialization and why, it's so important to specialize and know your role. Like, we'll talk about knowing your role in a future video. But, I mean, here y'all see me on my main DPS player, which is Tracer. And, as Tracer, I'm going to be a DPS. That's kind of my main job and my main role. But, I'm specializing currently in Tracer, and I'm kind of having my secondary be Widowmaker. But, I mean, at the end of the day, that's pretty much the idea is just to, do the best you can with with what you have. It doesn't matter if you are, a great, if you don't want to wait that long. I mean, I get it. People are impatient. We're all impatient to some degree. But sometimes if you are, like, for say, the greatest DPS in the world, then you should show that you're the greatest DPS in the world and queue up in the DPS role. Don't queue up in a support role and then try to DPS out everybody. Like, let's face it, that's not going to work. As a support role, everyone's going to look to you as a support. Everyone's going to look to you to being the person that is supportive or, protecting everybody. That's the main job of a support. As a tank, you're going to be protecting the front line. You're going to be the objective killer. Now, I mean, obviously, yes, you can get a little more aggressive as a tank, and you can get a little aggressive as a support. But the main idea and the main job of a supportive or the support role is to be, support. Is to be there as a, as a protector, as a guardian, if you will. And to be there as someone who is going to be, protecting everybody else. Like, it doesn't matter how good you are at DPS. It's like you should know your role and you should be able to play your role with some success and some form of, like, well, this is my role. This is what I need to do. Even if I don't like it, per se, and some of us may not like it, this is our role. And, that's just how it goes. I mean, as you can see, I queue up as the DPS, and it does take a while to queue up as the DPS. But, I mean, and you can see that. But I, of course, try to keep warm by doing skirmishes and death matches just so that, when I get into that, I can kind of show everyone how powerful of a DPS I really am. And that's kind of the main objective, the main idea. It's like, you may not like the wait times, and I get it. Everyone wants to be a DPS role. Like, that's the main job of everybody. That's the main role that everybody likes. But the problem is that some of you objectively go into the support or the tank role, and then you try to show how powerful of a DPS you are by, playing DPS as a tank, which is not the way you should play. But anyway, I've kept you all with your time all long enough. Hopefully this video has helped you when it comes to learning about specialization and should you specialize in a role. In my opinion, yes, you should absolutely specialize in a character or in a role. And, and we'll talk about in the future, like I said, about roles and how to play the role to the best of my knowledge. Now, I'm no pro at the moment. I'm not a pro at the moment. I'm not even, super high rank. But I do have an understanding, to a degree, of, certain aspects and certain ideas and things that should be implemented to make you the best role that you can be. And, a lot of this knowledge comes from other games, comes from stuff like Counter-Strike, comes from stuff like, playing, of course, MOBAs like, League of Legends. Some of this knowledge comes from, me playing Smite, and, that's where my ideas and some of the knowledge that I have for Overwatch and recently, and then a lot of it is also from coaching, like just taking in coaching and learning from an actual pro on what I need to do. Because again, if I have any recommendation, you really want to learn something, don't look at just YouTube videos, because again, YouTube videos, they'll tell you some basics and they'll tell you some knowledge about like certain characters, how to play these certain characters. But a lot of the YouTube videos I've seen from anybody, including like the real Kenzo sometimes, that like not really the real Kenzo, but from other players that are, so-called making tutorial videos. One thing that I noticed is that a lot of them don't explain the core mechanics, the core of, being a DPS, being a supportive, being like Tracer, for instance, being like, someone like, someone like, I don't know, Baptiste, someone like Bridget, like sometimes, most of these players who create these tutorials don't always give you that kind of knowledge, that insider, if you will, knowledge, those tactics that could really potentially make you the best Tracer out there, the best Bridget out there that you can be. Now, I'm not saying you will become the best Bridget or Tracer out there, but, it'll help you with becoming the best that you can be, and the best to your absolute, ability, and you'll see improvement over time, you'll always see improvement over time. As you'll see here, I'm basically only a few weeks or a few days back into playing Overwatch fully, and as you can see, I've made from like just one coaching session, I made massive improvements to my Tracer play. Like, this is a huge improvement to where my Tracer play was before when I first got started back in the day. And, most of that is because I'm starting to get a game sense. I'm starting to understand, my job as Tracer and my role as a DPS. Now, does this mean I'm perfect at it? No, I'm not. I'm not perfect at it at all. I'm absolutely terrible sometimes at it. But, I'm starting to understand, and I'm starting to get a good idea and a good sense of what I need to do. I'm starting to build my game sense, if you will. And because I'm starting to build my game sense, it's allowed me to basically, as you can see, improve. It's allowed me to basically give you the best knowledge that I can at the moment. And what I've learned at the moment, which is pretty much something that everyone, wants to have, especially if you're new to the game. If you're new to the game, obviously, or if you're just learning, it's obviously going to take some commitment to be, where you want to be. It's still taking me some time to be where I want to be. And even now, I'm still struggling to understand and pull off exactly what I need to pull off as a Tracer main. Even as a Widowmaker main, my shots and stuff are still something that I've got to work on. It's still something that I'm working to improve on. So, I mean, specialize and commit yourself to one character, at least if you're a beginner. If you're bronze or somewhere in the beginner range, you're just starting out, find a character that you like. It could be Tracer, it could be Baptiste, it could be Mercy, it could be, Bridget, it could be Zenyatta, it could be Genji. It could be even someone like Orisa. It could be, it could be Sigma. It could be Reaper. But in any case, find a character that you like and specialize in it. Commit yourself to that one character. Give yourself, as much time to that character as you can. And I'm going to guarantee you will see some improvement. You will see, somewhere in down the line, you will see, the improvement that you're looking for. You will see, exactly what you want to see and exactly, where you will be improving. You will be improving for sure. And I'm almost certain that you will see improvements in a long shot by committing yourself to one character for time. Now, once you get into higher ranks, once you find your team, once you get your composition together, then move on to someone else. Like, in my case, I'm going to probably stay Tracer for a while, or I might stay Widowmaker for a long time. And then I might be moving on eventually to Widowmaker or Tracer. Either way, you will see me at least specializing in one character for a long, long, long time. Now, whether it's going to be Widowmaker or Tracer, I'm not sure. But, until then, I'm going to be on one character for a long time. And I'm going to be continuing to play that one character for a very, very, very long time. And with that being said, thank you, everybody, for joining me on this video. Thank you for watching this video. Hopefully, this video has helped you and help you learn a little bit more about your specializations, being a specialist, and, just in general, maybe even understanding your character or whichever character you decide you want to commit to when the time comes. But with that being said, thank you, everybody, for joining me today on this video. Thank you for watching this video. And yeah, with that being said, I am live on Twitch at www.twitch.tv/FA_EYE. I am live on Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday for sure. Wednesday and Saturday, I'm usually live for about 4 to 5 hours. Thursday, I'm usually live for about 2 to 3 hours. And Monday and Tuesday, I'm also usually live for about 2 to 3 hours. But with that being said, thank you, everybody, for joining me today on this video. Thank you for watching this video. And until the next one, everybody, this is FAI, or I, signing out and saying... farewell, everyone.